Well, I think as every day goes by and the Trump campaign fails to make its case to the American people that he would be a good president, that any investment in his campaign is going to be wasted money. And what Republicans should do to protect the gains that they've made over the last 6 to 8 years is instead invest those resources in particularly Senate races where Republicans are vulnerable in, let's say, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Hampshire, and other places where Trump is dragging them down. His unpopularity is hurting their chances to be reelected. If we instead invest resources in those states to support those candidates, it will in the long run be better for the Republican Party than wasting those dollars on the Trump campaign, which right now looks like it's going to lose in a landslide.
How do you know that the gap with Clinton is unbridgeable? There's still 3 more months to go.
I don't know that it's unbridgeable, and I think there is an outside chance that he can completely change everything that he's doing and start to become more popular and win some votes. But every day that goes by when that doesn't happen makes that less and less likely. Right now, I'd put his chances of winning at 20% or less. So at a certain point, and that point is probably now, the people who run the party should make a smart decision to invest in those candidates who can win.
You're obviously firmly in the never Trump camp, as they call it. Were you ever Trump?
So I've been very skeptical of the candidate for a long time. He has made some comments that are particularly difficult to support about religious issues, about ethnic issues. And so I've been very skeptical for a long time, but I think it was when he started to discuss the ethnic background of a judge who was hearing a case involving his private business that led me to believe I could never support him as a candidate.
Let's look at one of the ads. What you already see happening is Democrats tying other Republicans who are up for re-election to Trump. Let's look at a Democratic ad attacking John McCain, who still supports Donald Trump.
Are you comfortable with Donald Trump possibly having control of the nuclear arsenal?
Anyone that I support the nominee of the party. If I change my mind, I'll let you know.
The only thing that's changed is John McCain.
I'm Ann Kirkpatrick, and I approve this message.
Is this what you are afraid of?
No, that ad and ads like that, I think will have very limited effectiveness. I don't think that's really what Republicans are worried about. In a way, it highlights the problem for the Democrats, which is that the Hillary campaign itself doesn't have a compelling, positive reason to vote for her. Her best case is that she's not Donald Trump. That's to her advantage right now, but it doesn't really help her in these other races. I think those ads are a distraction for people. And I don't think ultimately it hurts the Republican Party. What hurts the Republican Party is the fact that the candidate at the top is not suitable for office.
Now, you've been in politics for a long time. You worked on the Hill. You now work at a lobbying firm. You're the kind of guy that Trump likes to attack. You're part of the Washington establishment. Why would a letter like the one you signed even help?
Well, it might not, but at a certain point you have to do what you can. And I think you want to give cover to those folks in the party who are making the decisions about where the resources go and give them good reasons to do the right thing. And I think if that letter can be helpful, that's terrific. It's possible that it doesn't have the impact we were hoping for. I realize that, but you can't sit around and do nothing, in my view.
But the Republicans attacking Trump this week, all these foreign policy advisors, these are the same guys who advocated going into Iraq, which was the worst foreign policy disaster in decades. What kind of credibility do they even have in attacking Trump's credibility?
Well, I think that's exactly the framing that the candidate, that Mr. Trump, would be hoping for, is that they would be seen as not credible advocates on foreign policy and on national security issues. I think the question of the invasion of Iraq is something that has to be dealt with separately from this conversation. For the purposes of this conversation, the point of the letter is that he does not have the temperament or the qualifications or the ability to be the commander-in-chief. And these are from people who worked very hard for this nation's national security, who did a very good job after 9/11 of keeping this nation secure. There were some decisions that perhaps should have gone the other way, but overall, These are people who worked very hard to support the national security of the United States. They come from a variety of ideological backgrounds. Some of them, many of them supported the Iraq War, some of them did not. I think it's fair to accept the letter at face value, which is these are people who understand the important issues of national security, and they don't believe that Mr. Trump is an acceptable candidate.
You live in the swing state of Virginia. Are you going to vote in November?
I'm absolutely going to vote in November, yes.
Who are you going to vote for?
I don't know yet. It won't be Donald Trump, and it's very unlikely to be Hillary Clinton. I'm looking at Gary Johnson, who's the Libertarian candidate. There is a new candidate from the Republican side, this Evan McMullen, who I happen to know a little bit. I'm not sure about his candidacy, but I'll look at him too. Right now, if I had to vote, I would probably vote for Mr. Johnson, who's the former governor of New Mexico.
Great. Thanks so much for being on our program.
You bet. Thanks for having me.